The big question on everyone's mind is what next in the Russia-Ukraine war? Ukrainian troops have taken back large swaths of land. Russian missiles are raining down on Ukraine as we speak. The war in Europe has been raging for around 230 days, and there seems to be no end in sight just yet. In fact, 8 years ago, in the year 2014, when unmarked Russian troops stormed Crimea, Ukraine defenses fell like a house of cards. Now, fast forward to 2022. Ukraine has fought tooth and nail for every inch of their land. In fact, September saw a turning of tides of sorts, with Ukrainians taking back key territories. Hardliners, meanwhile, are pressuring Putin to show results. When Putin had signaled the coming of an invasion, experts had predicted that Russian troops would once again crush their Ukrainian counterparts. Timelines of 2 weeks for Kyiv's fall were being thrown around. So what changed in 8 years since the annexation of Crimea in February 2014? Well, Ukrainian troops are much better armed. They're trained, they're battle-hardened since then. But that's not all it takes to really win wars. Reports suggest that Russian troops are low on morale. Russian field commanders have made catastrophic tactical mistakes. Russian military command vastly underestimated Ukraine's battle preparedness. Another thing that sets the two armies apart is how they developed after the fall of the Soviet Union. After the Crimean disaster, Ukraine overhauled its defense structure, rooting out years of corruption and inefficiency. In 2015, Ukraine had just 6,000 combat-ready troops against the big might of Moscow. In 2022, reports suggest 200,000 Ukrainians were ready to face down Putin. Of course, it was still vastly lower than the forces of Russia. So in comes improvisation and a lot of innovation. Ukraine has a more flexible command structure. While both US and Russia agreed that Ukrainian troops were outmatched, Ukrainian troops had something up their sleeve, something called Mission Task Command. Mission Task Command allows decision-making at the lowest possible level. This allowed small, highly mobile Ukrainian units to flank the enemy and attack from the rear. Now, Russia's large force and extended supply lines were harried at every step of the way. A Russian retreat was only a matter of time. Over and above, Ukraine has Washington as a back office. US has been helping Kyiv every step of the way, whether it's in intelligence or in planning their moves. President Biden has been pouring money into Ukraine in the form of weapons and aid. In fact, the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, has alleged that the US has been participating in the war de facto since the very beginning of the war. On the 4th of October, the United States announced a further $625 million military drawdown for Ukraine. And days later, a further $55 million investment in Ukraine's heating infrastructure was announced too. Since Biden has come to power, the US has poured in $17.5 billion into Ukraine. But really, the question is, what next in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war? Well, Putin invaded Ukraine in the garb of protecting the rights of Russian-speaking minorities. He has now officially annexed 4 territories, and that includes Donbass after a controversial referendum that was conducted by Russia there. But Ukraine is refusing to back down, and G7 nations will consider Ukrainian demand for better defense systems. Interestingly, the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, has said that Moscow will not turn down a meeting between President Vladimir Putin and US President Joe Biden at the G20 meeting and would consider the proposal for peace if Russia receives one. So do the Western countries have that drive to ask for a peace resolution? That's the question we're waiting for an answer to.